Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matthew, and I'm here as always with Venushan. And we have had two games of the NBA playoffs, two really exciting games of the NBA playoffs. We haven't even gotten a chance to react to the play-in games, and pretty much since the regular season ended. So this is going to be a reaction episode, reacting to some of the actual games that happened, some of the moments, and just some of the storylines that are kind of emerging. Let's start in the West because that seems to be the place where most of the interesting stuff is happening. Um, Going all the way back to the play-ins, the Warriors beat the Lakers in what was a really exciting game. A LeBron game-winning three. That's probably going to be something that at least adds to his legacy a little bit. Warriors almost pulled that out, and then the Warriors went and lost to the Grizzlies, who looked amazing. Ja hit a game winner in that game, and then Ja and the Grizzlies went on to beat Utah without Donovan Mitchell in game one of that series. So, just overall, a couple of quick thoughts on the play-in tournament in the West. What do you got?
It was a success. Like there's nothing else you could say about it. When like Jason Tatum has career games, when LeBron and Steph Curry are duking it out, when a new young point guard is able to beat the best point guard potentially of all time, the best point guard of right now, like John Morant is able to build on his legacy. Like when we get to see a little bit of LaMelo, even though they lost
Mm.
right away, but we still got to see a little bit of him. It was a success. Like the ratings did well. There's a lot of storylines out there that you could build on for next season and in the future. Like if the Grizzlies ever played the Warriors in an actual like series, that's something to build on, something to talk about. So yeah, it was a success. It sucks that we don't get to see Steph Curry in the playoffs, but it's great to see John Morant, and that's pretty much it from the play-ins. Like it's nothing more. Like you can't say it's not a success.
Yeah, it's like the fact that John Morant won two games to get into that eight seed, and then they went on and won the first game of that series. And like if Mitchell's not 100%, like it's not inconceivable that Memphis could maybe even take that series. And just like that's all because of the play-in tournament. That play-in tournament created that excitement and got the Grizzlies kind of like geared up for that first round playoff matchup. So it's all around a success, especially in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and Mitchell is already confirmed to be playing game two,
Yeah.
so he should be pretty close to 100%. Apparently, there was a little friction that he wasn't able to play in game one. That game was really interesting. It was really fun to watch. Rudy Gobert fouled out. Uh, Mike Conley was struggling with foul trouble the whole time, and like Boyan Bogdanovic just wasn't a number one option. You could tell by like just
Mm.
you could just tell, you know what I mean? Like he's not a
Yeah.
number one option to win your playoff series. And Donovan Mitchell's just gonna put everyone back into their roles. He's gonna relax so much, like everything. He's a closer. He's someone you could throw the ball into. And I think just with his early confirmation of playment and playing, I think they're still going to win the series, and I still think they're probably going to win it in like six.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Grizzlies only won that game by three, right? And that's without
Yeah,
Donovan Mitchell, by far their best player. So even if he's at 80%, even if he's like 75%, like he's not just like an extra shooter, extra role player that they're missing, right? Like he's pretty much their whole offense. So I think I do think they're going to win this series, probably even still in six. I don't know if maybe it'll go
yeah,
seven, but yeah, I still haven't taken the series. It's going to be really exciting. Like especially game two, Donovan Mitchell first game back. If the Grizzlies can come out flying in that game and take a 2-0 series lead, that would be very interesting.
yeah. And Dylan Brooks always guards the best player, like whether that be DeMar DeRozan or Steph Curry. He's going to be
Mm-hmm.
guarding Donovan Mitchell, and he had 31 points game one. Like if you're guarding Donovan Mitchell, you're not going to score 31 points because you're just not going to
Yeah.
have that energy for the offensive end. Now instead of like he was guarding like Jordan Clarkson and Mike Conley, who are great players, don't get me wrong, but the effort and energy that's expended guarding a Donovan Mitchell is much
Mm-hmm.
higher than those two players, and he's just not going to be this 31 point Dylan Brooks that we see on game one. We would love him to be because he's Canadian, and we want to see him go off. And every playoff he comes to play and he gets a little bit better, but it'll be a surprise. And Donovan Mitchell's 26, 4 and 4. Uh, JV man, he had a
Mm-hmm.
23-23 game against the Spurs. Game one of the playoffs, he's 15 and 12, fouled out Rudy Gobert. Like he's playing amazing. I'm happy for him, but can he keep it up? That's a big
Yeah.
burden he's carrying.
Yeah, for sure. And but ultimately, it's going to come down to John Morant. Like if he keeps playing like he did in the play-in and in that game one, like his stock. Like we all were calling him like a next up superstar after last season, and he had not a down year, but it wasn't like as much of a step up as we thought. But maybe this is what that is because he's been just like dominating so far in these 3 games.
Yeah, he's definitely been dominating these 3 games. Yeah, John Morant's been great these last 3 games. He's been scoring a lot. He's been playmaking a lot, and he's been shooting the ball a lot better too, especially from the three. He needs his like role players to step up. Jaren Jackson has been
Yeah,
what, the fourth best player, fifth best player,
probably.
maybe even
Yeah,
like sixth. Like
yeah,
JV and Dylan Brooks have been playing way better than him, and like someone who's just barely plays like Desmond Bain has been showing more hotspots than him. So if he's able to step up and come back to like that 15 and 12 type guy, that would alleviate a lot of pressure. And that would honestly make me believe in like a 8-1 upset or something like that, right?
yeah.
But when it's just JV and John Morant, they just don't have enough. Especially Rudy Gobert is not going to foul out most likely again in this series. So I think it was just a perfect storm for game 1.
Yeah, I agree. But the John Morant shooting is probably the most important thing you brought up there. Like he's been being left wide open, and he made 5 of 10 against the Warriors, and he was making threes last night too. So I mean, if he keeps
Yeah.
doing that, like it could be a different story. So moving on from the game that probably the most exciting game from last night, maybe the game being most talked about from last night, the Lakers went down to defeat in game 1 to the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul looked like he sustained an injury. LeBron got a little banged up. There was almost a fight. Uh, what are your thoughts from that game? Devin Booker went off. Anthony Davis didn't. It was just an awesome game 1, Suns Lakers.
Yeah, like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton played like they're like Kobe and Shaq kind of
Yeah,
like it was crazy. Like Devin Booker had 34, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, and DeAndre Ayton completely like destroyed Anthony Davis with 21 points and 16 rebounds. Chris Paul, even though he's nowhere near 100%, I think I would put him at around like 70% that game he was playing.
yeah,
He had 7 points, 8 assists. He was still solid, still contributing. Uh, Solid role players in Crowder and Bridges. They did the job. They played great defense. They hit some wide open shots, had some nice cuts. They did the job. And they're just playing like a team. They're playing like how they did in the regular season. And DeAndre Ayton stepped up for that Chris Paul scoring absence. And I don't think it's gonna happen again. Like, come on, like Anthony Davis, I had him
yeah,
as
yeah,
the defensive player of the year favorite to win this year. Obviously banged up, couldn't get the award. He only had 13 points, 7 rebounds. Like he's gonna have to switch it. Like not only he's gonna have to shut down DeAndre Ayton, he's gonna also have to score like 26, 30. LeBron had 18, 10 assists, 7 rebounds. Get a little more, LeBron. Get it going
yeah,
in the fourth a little more, like take over. But once Anthony Davis facilitates and scores like first 3 quarters, I think will open up the floor for LeBron, and that'll be great as usual. And Andre Drummond, man, like if you can't play defense, I think it's time to bring up Marcus Gasol, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
Like Marcus Gasol sucks against like Draymond Green or someone like that. But put him against the how about your yeah, Marcus Gasol, man. When you have playing against a big center, you have to play him. He's just so good defensively, and he's just going to be able to slow him down. And DeAndre Ayton is not a center that's kind of kill you from the 3 point line. So I
yeah.
think you have to play Marcus Gasol, and you have to play him like a decent amount of time, like 20 minutes. Andre Drummond, I think, sits on the bench.
Yeah, because Drummond was like you said, he was so bad defensively, and he
Yeah,
wasn't really giving you like he wasn't dominating the glass. He wasn't didn't put up like he wasn't killing them in the paint or anything like that. He just kind of looked like kind of a negative out there. But the thing is, for me, like the Suns won by I think it was 9. They won by
yeah,
9 points, and Davis shot like it's one of the worst shooting performances I've ever seen from Davis. So like as good as the Suns looked in that game, as good as Devin Booker looked, if Davis just makes a couple more shots, the Lakers easily win that game, right? So I think the Lakers like just need to be a little more aggressive. LeBron have another game like under his belt of this playoffs, and I'm not too worried about the
yeah.
Lakers, especially with Chris Paul. Like he couldn't even shoot. He could barely even dribble with his right arm like towards the end of that game. So it's going to be a good series. You had it going 7. I had it going 6. Maybe I think you might be right about that 7, but I'm not too worried about the Lakers.
Yeah, and especially the Chris Paul injury, we just know he's gonna play no matter what, but he's nowhere near 100%. And as good as the Sun team's in, without 100% Chris Paul, you're not gonna beat this Lakers team. So it sucks that it happened. It sucks that it happened game one. It'll still be a long series because I still believe in these young guys like Ayton and Booker,
Hmm.
but I just can't see him winning.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, but I don't know. You never know. LeBron like looks like he hurt his shoulder or something. They didn't. I don't know if they said
I
what
don't
that
know about
was, but
that.
I don't really know. Okay, so moving on to another kind of upset. The Mavs. Luka went absolutely off. Took down the Mavs in Game 1 at Staples Center. Um, Pretty convincing win. It was. It wasn't like really down to the wire. I think I had it in 5. You had it in 6. I don't see the
Yeah,
Clippers winning 4 straight. I don't even know if I
yeah.
see the Clippers going 4-1 the rest of the way. Can the Mavs actually win this series?
The thing is, we talk about Luca and how great he is because he had a 31-point triple double. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's also these role players stepped up. Like Dorian Finney-Smith had 18, Tim Hardaway Jr. had 21, Jalen Brunson had 15 points in only 21 minutes. Josh Richardson had 8 points in only 17 minutes. Like these guys were shooting well, shooting decently. Maxi Kleber, I know that picture is circulating of him getting dunked
Mm.
on by Kawhi, and then everyone kind of yelling at him. Kawhi, Morris, and PG, but he was playing good defense until yeah, he was playing good defense
Yeah.
the whole game, even when he got post strike. So still a good defensive play. The Clippers, Kawhi and PG both shot pretty bad. Kawhi's getting kind of like no slack for it because he still put up 26 and 10
Yeah.
rebounds and 5 assists. PG still put up 23, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, which is solid, but it's not superstar what we expect from PG. And especially when who's guarding him? Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber,
Hmm.
come on, you have to do better than that. And I think the lack of point guard is still visible. Yeah, Rajon Rondo is great, but he's no Kyle Lowry. He's none of those guards that Kawhi was trying to advocate that the Clippers went out and get this off season, this trade deadline, everything like that. And yeah, these are two good teams. I think it's more evenly matched than we predicted coming
Yeah.
into the off season. I mean, coming into this playoff season. Uh, Rajon Rondo didn't live up to playoff Rondo expectations, but it's still one game. I still think Kawhi and PG are enough to beat this team. I think they will bounce back, especially with Kristaps Porzingis looking like a role player nowadays. So I'm still getting to the Clippers in like 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I don't think we'll see that poor shooting performances from both Kawhi and PG like going
Yeah,
forward. Like you said, they're being guarded by Finney Smith and Kleber. Like those are two good defenders, but they're not going to be
great.
locking down, Kawhi and PG. And it's funny how it seems like the guys who put on these get put on these posters by these dunks are like actually good defenders who are like doing the right thing. Like Yuta Watanabe earlier in the year, he's a good
Yeah,
defender. He was playing good defense, but just got absolutely destroyed. Um, but yeah, like the Clippers have too much. Even if Rondo isn't playoff Rondo in the series, I still think it's enough. Luka probably will average a 30-point triple double, like probably,
yeah,
but I don't expect Porzingis. Like Porzingis was huge in that series last year. He was putting up 30-point games, 25, 20 something
yeah.
point games. Like you said, he looks more of a role player these days. And I don't, other than Luka, I don't really think you can rely on any consistency from the rest of that roster.
Yeah, like Tim Hardaway Jr. is scoring 21 points. Like if he averages 20 points this whole series, then yeah, I could see the Mavericks winning.
Yeah.
Am I betting on Tim Hardaway Jr. to average 20 points in a playoff series? No, I'm just not going to do that. Am I betting on Dorian Finney-Smith scoring 15 plus every single game? No, I can't do that too. Same with Jalen Brunson. Like, am I expecting him to come off the bench and just be that blazing hot? You just can't expect these from these players. And the one player we expect more from, Porzingis, just doesn't look like himself anymore. He looks like a shell of himself. It sucks to see, but injuries might have just taken the best out of him. And Luca, man, you just got to keep doing those 30. Now it has to be maybe a 40-point triple
Yeah.
double. Maybe it has to be a 50-point game.
Yeah.
But if he wants to really like separate out himself from like anyone else and make sure he's like the future, the face of NBA, winning
Yeah.
the series will go a long way.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the young guys, especially in the Western Conference, well, actually in
Yeah,
the East too, are like doing really well early on, and like the top 15, top 25 players rankings could be like shaking up a lot and getting a lot of more young guys up there close to the top.
Yeah, they're showing this is a young guy's game, and they're just going off, man. They're just
Yeah,
crazy. Like the
yeah,
shooting, the playmaking, it's crazy. Everyone's a unicorn nowadays.
yeah. It's crazy. So okay, so we talked about the Lakers series, we talked about the Clippers series, the Jazz, and the what are we missing? We
Mavs.
got all the West, right? And we talked about the
And
West.
then obviously the series that we watch the most of, and then that
Yeah,
we're most invested in, the
yeah,
West, the Trailblazers versus the Nuggets.
yeah.
Shout out to the Serbian fans that we have listening to the pod and watching the clips. Yeah, we're kind of the big Nuggets fans. They're our West team. Obviously, Raptors are our East team.
Yeah.
And with PJ Dozier out, Will Barton out, and
Mm.
Jamal Murray out, dude, they just lack the guard depth to
Yeah. Yeah.
win the series. Like win the series. Like we need
Yeah.
PJ Dozier or Will Barton to return.
Yeah. Like we both had it going 7. I had Blazers. You had Nuggets.
Nuggets,
But without Will Barton, like he's what their fourth best player, fifth best player, like
third best scorer though.
third best scorer.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not Nuggets. If he doesn't come back, the Nuggets probably aren't winning the series. Even PJ Dozier is like a nice, like another long,
defender.
good defender guard off the bench. Like without that depth, without obviously Jamal Murray, like Campazzo was really good in that game. Jokic was amazing in that game. He just absolutely ended Cantor's like career almost. How much he
Yeah,
destroyed him. MPJ put up good points and
good
actually a
rebound.
decent efficiency, but he only shot
Yeah,
1 of 10 from three. So I mean,
yeah,
like even if he does come around, I don't know. They're going to need Will Barton back for sure. But I don't know. Like, are we hearing anything about Will Barton?
yeah. It was a hamstring injury. Hopefully he returns. He's been out for a little bit in the season as well. It's just like even like Monty Morris, like someone who
Yeah.
played last game. He wasn't 100%, and you could tell by his play because if he was 100%, he would have got much more of those minutes that Austin Rivers got. And I think, man, even someone like a Dozier, like I know like a lot of NBA fans don't know him, but like Nuggets fans could kind of support us with this. Like if he slots in there for Austin Rivers and for all of those 33 minutes, like we're talking about a really like improved defense like
Yeah.
so much. We're talking about so much better cutting off the ball. We're talking about someone who just knows the system better, and then moving Austin Rivers to the bench, and taking up that Marcus Howard 20 minutes. We're just talking about more playmaking on the bench and talking about more like shot creation on the bench. So like it just puts stuff into place, and obviously adding Will Barton and Dozier,
Mm-hmm.
ideal situation. Like we were just adding so much more scoring, so much more playmaking, so much more defense that it's going to be like a completely new different team, and like
Yeah.
those two role players kind of have that effect. And the only reason for this is because Jokic is a pass first superstar, pass first option, so he needs those guys around him because like he only had what 2 assists or 1 assist
Yeah. I think it's like 1 or 2.
game one,
Yeah.
and that's because he couldn't pass like
Yeah.
unless it was to MPJ like
Missing threes.
everyone
Like,
else.
yeah.
Yeah, like it was just better for him to go by himself back to the basket and teach Cantor like he's the best center in the league.
Yeah.
And then obviously we have to give credit where credit's due. Carmelo Anthony, amazing first quarter, really kept the Blazers in it, and he's like, "Hey guys, we should win this series." Like, what a first quarter for him! Like, changed the game. Like, he had 12 points and he had three threes in the first quarter. Amazing. Uh, Damian Lillard, 13 assists. He had 7 in the first quarter. Like, he was also going off. He was red hot, 34 and 13. CJ McCollum did his job, 20 points, 6 rebounds. Nurkic had a decent game too when he was like kind of still struggling against Jokic, but he still put
Mm-hmm.
up a decent offensive game with 16 points. Like they just did their job, you know what I mean? The superstar played like a superstar. Second option put up 20 points. A veteran came in, did his job, scored. The defense wasn't great, but they did it. They did the job on everyone else. They're like, hey, Jokic scored 40. We're still gonna beat you. You put
Mm-hmm.
up 34, and they still beat him. It's just tough. You can't win with this much injuries,
Yeah.
especially in the same position.
Yeah. Exactly. You just can't like. You were right about Campazzo. He actually did play like even though
Really good.
Dame
Yeah.
put up good stats, he played really good defense, really good playmaking, like he always does. Jokic was himself. MPJ scored a lot. I mean, he's going to be up and down from three a little bit, but he's going to be better than 1 of 10 most games. The thing is, like outside of Jokic and MPJ, there's pretty much no scorer, no go-to scorer
Yeah.
at all on that team. So like, without Jamal Murray, obviously, you need Will Barton to be that third guy. You're not relying on Campazzo to score. You're not going to ask Aaron Gordon to score. You're not going to ask Austin Rivers to score too much. It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah,
So I don't blame the Nuggets for dropping that game. I do think even if Barton is out the whole series, it's still going to go 6 at least. I think Jokic
yeah,
is that good, and MPJ is going to be better than that. But let's just hope he comes back soon. At least Dozier even.
yeah. And like Aaron Gordon still had a good game.
Yeah,
He's just not a scorer. Like he still had
yeah,
16 and 8. Like he's just not a scorer. And
yeah,
when Will Barton and Dozier comes in, he might score more points because the
yeah.
floor opens up and like he gets easier cuts. So yeah, we just need those players in. They're all shooting guards, kind of like it's just all in one
Mm-hmm.
position, and it just sucks for them. It just sucks because now like Marcus Howard, someone who even like Nuggets fans like us don't know that much of, has to play 20 minutes a game, man.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
Yeah, it's just tough. Okay, so let's go to the East now. Let's talk about the most memorable game from last night was Trae Young with the game winner on the Knicks going down to the wire. Looked like it was going to go to overtime, but Trae Young ends it and silences the MSG crowd. Another young guy, another 21, 22, however old his player, just taking over this playoffs.
Yeah, 32 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, complete monster. Uh, really the only player to score over 20 points on the Hawks. The Hawks rarely were getting free throw calls. I think they shot 3 outside of Trae Young.
Hmm.
So it was kind of just Trae Young doing everything, playmaking, scoring, facilitating, like literally everything. And guess what? That's not going to happen against for the Hawks. Like Gallinari is going to have games. Bogdanovich is going to be a consistent 15-point scorer. Clint Capella is going to be a 20-point scorer some games. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to capitalize on these games. Like if you're the Knicks and you have to
Yeah.
win. And they did a good job shutting down Julius Randle. Alex Burks and Derrick Rose stepped up. RJ Barrett did all right, but Julius Randle's going to be better too. So this series is going to go to 7. I had the
Yeah.
Hawks, you had the Knicks, and so far it's living up to expectations with one game winner for my
Yeah.
team, the Trey Young, and maybe we might see a Randle game winner next time.
Yeah, it feels like maybe next game Randall has like a 35, like 10
Yeah,
and 6 or something, and Trey Young maybe is a little not as good as this time. It's gonna go back and forth for sure. Um, but yeah, that was Trey Young to finally be able to be in the playoffs, and everyone's saying that he was like a stat patter, not a winning type player. Pretty much, literally carries this team to victory and hits the game winner right as it's going down to the wire. His legacy is just gonna keep just skyrocketing from this.
and shout out Lou William too, because there's one point where like the Hawks couldn't score, so they just subbed Lou William on, and Lou William just went bucket, 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 and he just kind of turned the tide. And man, you just need that type of player, that veteran that's like, hey, these young guys, they can't get it rolling right now. My job is to score, kind of break this funk, break this spell, get us back into it. And he did his job. And there was questions like all over Twitter. It was like, would you trade Lou William now for Rajon Rondo and stuff? Obviously, it's too easy to tell right now, but one for one, Lou William has it over Rondo so far.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But and like you said, like the Hawks role players are gonna step up. Like Clint
Yeah,
Capella, as good as he is defensively, he's gonna have some 20 and 13 games probably. Gallo, Bogdanovich, these guys,
Collins.
Collins, like the fact that the Hawks can win a game with not even like 3 out of 5 of their main guys firing on all cylinders is kind of scary. And maybe me along with a lot of other people are underestimating them a little bit.
Yeah, I think the Hawks were definitely a young, talented team, and we could see them maybe next season pushing for that superstar because they have so much role players they could trade for one. But right now they're just a fun team that's like 11 deep. Like they're just a crazy
Yeah,
deep team that's fun. They just like pull a guy that wasn't even playing in Lou William. They're just like, hey, give us
yeah,
buckets. It's just a super fun team, and we got to shout out Alex Burks too, man. Like he was your fantasy guy. You loved him in
yeah.
fantasy.
Oh yeah,
Did a lot of help for you. 27 points. Just he was just going bucket, bucket, bucket. It was like crazy.
yeah,
And man, him and D Rose, it just felt nice seeing those two guys go off.
yeah. D Rose and Lou Williams going off against each other in a playoff series is not something I expected
Classics
this year, but it's
in
I'm happy.
2021.
I'm happy it's
Yeah,
happening.
yeah,
So
for sure. Throwback.
Yeah, to a more expected result is the Nets took care of business against the Celtics in a game that didn't look like I thought it would. I thought it'd be a high scoring offense, no defense, but it was kind of the opposite. The Celtics were held to like under 100
93.
points, 93 points, and the
Yeah.
Nets big three KD went off, but the other two were not like up to their usual standard. And is that making you feel better about the Nets even more? Like if that's possible?
Man, they just shot like horrible and they still won.
Yeah,
And throughout the whole game, I think anyone watching that game could kind of attest to it. It's like, man, what if Jaylen Brown was here? Like,
yeah,
what if that extra scorer was there and like everything was set in place? And sadly, he's not there. It's probably going to be a sweep or 5 games. And it just means more play time for the big three. Because coming into the playoffs, The Irishman, the movie, was longer than the minutes the big three played together. So that's how you know it's crazy. Steve Nash was
yeah.
joking about it. Like it's actually crazy.
That's
But they're
insane.
gonna get this. The series is reps for them. They're just good
Yeah,
enough where they can win with 2 out of 3, any 2 out of 3.
yeah.
But they have all three, so they're just getting reps. They're winning, and we'll see them. We'll see them in a real series next series.
Yeah, I will say that Robert Williams was really good. What did he have?
Yeah,
Eight blocks, 9 blocks, something like that. He almost had a triple double with blocks. He was really good. Jason Tatum was his usual self.
amazing.
They
Yeah,
need a little more from pretty much everyone else on the roster, but this is going pretty much exactly as expected.
yeah. Nothing else really to say. They played great, but you
Yeah,
just don't have Jaylen Brown. Once you miss a guy that good,
yeah,
you're rarely gonna win a series.
yeah. So in the 1-8 matchup, it was a little closer than I think we expected. The Wizards were leading at halftime against the Sixers, but ended up going down by 7. Tobias Harris had an amazing game. Embiid was pretty good, but not his up to his MVP caliber self. Are you? I forget what you had in this series. Did you have a sweep or was it a 4-1?
Well, we both
Oh,
predicted
we had the
the
Wizards at the 7
Celtics.
seed, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't. Yeah, we didn't predict this series.
So it's probably still like a 6 or 7 game series, I think, especially with how good Bradley Beal played last game. Yeah, he's still not 100%, I think. I still think
Yeah,
he's around that like 90% range. Hopefully he gets better as the series goes on. He still scored 33 and 10 rebounds and 6 assists. Amazing. What which was incorrectly called. So yeah, that was pretty sad. Hopefully that gets fixed. Better officiating. Joel Embiid, people say didn't play great. He had 36 and 6. He just didn't grab the
yeah,
10 rebounds. So like
yeah,
he played good. Tobias Harris, crazy. All these guys are gonna have crazy stats. It's the Wizards defense. Like we can't
yeah.
like really talk about that. It's just can the Wizards outscore them? This time, couple bad calls, couple bad
Mhm.
plays, push it the other way, but hopefully they could keep this offense going and at least challenge the Sixers.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them the game. I think the Sixers are. It's no fluke that they were the 1 seed.
Yeah,
I forgot Embiid dropped 36 somehow. I thought he had like 24 or something, but I don't know how I
yeah,
forgot that. But yeah, Embiid was not so good in the first half, but second half he started dominating. And the fact that you can win without Embiid going completely off, and you have a guy like Tobias Harris, who's like your third best player, uh,
yeah.
to carry offense like that for a half, is is just really good for the Sixers, and it's gonna be 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, did a little shocked that Ben Simmons with these last 2 months, he hasn't really had a lot of like 25, 26 point games.
Mm,
So that's going to be somebody to look forward to in the next series when Embiid gets doubled and they're kind
yeah,
of force Simmons to like score.
yeah,
So it's going to
yeah.
be interesting to see.
You're not gonna see it in this series because they're not gonna need it, but
Yeah,
there's gonna come a point in this playoffs where they're gonna win or lose based on whether Ben Simmons steps up a little bit as a scorer, not as a shooter, like where no one's asking for
yeah,
that, but like he can
just
still
score.
score 20, 25
Yeah,
points. It's gonna happen at some point, probably in the next series.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So going on to the final and probably most closely contested game so far that we've had is the Bucks and the Miami Heat went down to the absolute wire. Looked like it was going to go to double OT, but Chris Middleton hit a buzzer beater, and then I thought Duncan Robinson was going to hit a Chris Middleton hit a game winner with zero point 0.5 on the clock left. I thought Robinson was going to hit a catch and shoot buzzer beater. It didn't happen, but the Bucks squeak out game one. We both had it going 6, or you had it going
Yeah,
7, I had it going 6, or something like that. We got game 2 tonight. How do you see the rest of the series going?
man, I don't want to overreact to one game, but man, the Heat look amazing. Like with Jimmy Butler just playing what like beyond awful. I know he
Yeah.
hit the
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
like the game to send it to overtime, so everyone's like, "Oh man, he's still amazing, whatever." But if you're watching that game, what did he shoot? 4 for 22.
Yeah.
He was completely awful, and he's never gonna play like that again. So if they could keep shooting like this with Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic, these guys. Goran Dragic, we have to start calling him playoff Dragic now because,
Yeah.
man, how many games did he have over like 25 in the regular season? And
Not too
then
many.
first game in the playoffs, boom, back.
Yeah.
So yeah, playoff Dragic is back. Duncan Robinson shooting well like always.
Mm-hmm.
Like these guys are back, man. They're just built to like beat these Bucks. That's how it feels like. And
Yeah.
I would love to see Jimmy do it again because he's a really fun player and his defense is amazing. But Drew Holiday, he showed how his value is with that block and that game winning block and that this amazing defense on Jimmy Butler. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with my prediction. Still call it 7.
Yeah, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton were both amazing in that
Yeah,
game. Drew Holiday more so on the defensive end.
defensive
Middleton
end.
pretty much carried the offense. Giannis had a good stat line, but he was working for his points. Like he was not getting anything easy. Again, not a good game from the free throw line. Like if he had just hit one or two of those free throws down the stretch, that game doesn't go down to the
Yeah,
buzzer like that. We are seeing this series after series after series. Like he's put up good numbers. It wasn't great efficiency. He was not controlling the game like he usually does. Miami seems to just kind of have the answer for him.
yeah. Like I said it all the time, and a lot of people are starting to say it. Like he's just a modern day Shaq, and for a modern day Shaq to win, I mean a past Shaq, he only won when he had a closer with him, right?
Yeah,
He'll dominate game one quarters 1 to 3, but quarter 4, hey Kobe, create, get the game winning shot. Hey D Wade, create, get the game winning shot. Like he could dominate for 1 to 3, but he needs Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday to
mm-hmm.
be there for the fourth quarter because he can't hold the ball in the fourth quarter because they're just gonna foul him.
Yeah,
Whether that be Duncan Robinson using all his 6 fouls, Tyler Hero, whatever. Like they're just gonna foul him and send him to the line because he sucks from there. He shot 40% and like he hasn't been good since like the Raptors series. Like the Raptors series was like the last Shaq.
yeah. It's like it wasn't. It's not a fluke. Like this is going to keep happening the rest of the series. I
Yeah,
honestly I don't really see a way where Giannis is gonna be getting a lot of easy points unless they're just playing amazing defense and getting a lot of transition, fast break stuff. If they start
yeah,
like playing him at the 5 and running like pick and rolls, maybe they can get him going that way, get him like some easy looks at the rim. But like he's going to like creating his own shot. He's going to have a really tough time this whole series, and it's only going to continue when they play. Well, I guess when they play the Nets, it won't be quite as difficult. But if they do make it to the conference finals and into the finals, like it's going to be like that the whole playoffs.
yeah. When you can't hit that free throw shot, we've been saying it the whole time. Like the game changes, the way they play defense around you changes, and he's gonna need Chris Middleton to play like he did, score 27 points. He's gonna
Yeah,
need Brook Lopez to score 18. He's gonna need Drew Holiday to have a 20 piece. PJ Tucker, even though he sucked offensively, he was
yeah,
amazing. He was
he
not
was
amazing
he was
defensively,
good.
but he was good.
Yeah,
He was good, and he needs to play like that. Bobby
Bobby Portis was
Porter's,
pretty good.
yeah, 8 points, four
Yeah,
rebounds, solid bench player. He needs to be playing like that too. They need to win as a team. You
yeah,
can't beat this with just Giannis, and the Heat are like the personification of team basketball, and you need to. It's just gonna be a great series, team
yeah,
versus team.
yeah,
Like we're not saying KD versus Tatum. Like this is
yeah.
team versus team.
That's a really good way of putting it because the Miami, Jimmy Butler, their superstar, had a horrible game, at least offensively, and they lost by 2. Right?
Yeah,
Giannis had a horrible game, but Chris Middleton stepped up, became that scorer. Like Chris Middleton has that ability to be that guy, to be that closer. I wouldn't count on it though, him being the best scorer in a playoff series. But I don't know. They have Drew Holiday looked really good. They have the pieces, and if Giannis can just hit some more free throws, like that game, they could easily win that game by like 6 or 7.
it's gonna see how this impacts Giannis at his free throw line because he knows it. So it's gonna be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, we got game 2 that tonight. We have game 2 of the Nuggets series tonight, and then tomorrow we got the Clippers. It's just good game after good game after good game. But we covered everything that's happened so far. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. We are going to be back next week, like we always are, to cover another week of playoff basketball. In the meantime, check out our YouTube channel, STF Clips. Subscribe there for the best clips from this podcast. Check us out on Instagram at Stress the Floor Podcast. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast feed. Leave a 5-star rating and leave a review. It all really helps. Other than that, thank you again, and we will see you guys next week.